Hello, my name is Michael Reese. Over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be hosting a number of interviews with some knowledgeable individuals that have a variety of experiences in music and education, in the hopes of learning a lot and also covering some important 21st century topics for educators and for music programs. So the music education field is really dependent on a lot of people volunteering their time and skills. Even the people that do get paid are frequently taking far less than they would earn in other fields. But many of the activities, marching band, drum corps, winter guard, could not exist without dedicated individuals that are volunteering their time or contributing their time for maybe less than they could make in other fields. Um, John, who's with us today, is a great example of this. In the time I've known John, he's volunteered and been employed by a variety of nonprofits and music programs and has done so in a diverse set of roles. So I'll let him share more about his past here in a second. But today, John is here to talk about how to work and volunteer with music programs and specifically music nonprofits. So without further ado, John, thank you for
Mhm.
talking to me today.
Hey,
Tell
what's
us a little bit
up?
about yourself.
I'm Jon Shaw. I am 42 years old. I live in Indianapolis, Indiana. I've been a Midwestern person for a Midwest guy for my whole life, really. Lived in Michigan and Wisconsin for a minute and Chicago, and now I'm in Indianapolis, kind of making my way through the Midwest circuit, I guess you could say. Um, I did marching band in high school, which started a whole bunch of things, which has led me to the Bands of America office now, doing some work for them all fall long and kind of year round as things pop up. Marched drum corps with the Madison Scouts, marched drum corps with Northern Aurora for you historians that may be watching. Before I marched to Madison, uh, friend of Michael Reese. I look forward to seeing him at winter guard percussion and winter guard competitions in the winter and spring, as well as around scouts rehearsals or wherever he might be, wherever he might be, buddy. And all around nice guy. I'm happy to sit down and talk with you today.
Great. Tell us about some of the places where you've had the opportunity to either work and or volunteer and what some of those roles have been.
So after I did performing, I kept teaching at the high school level, and just here and there in Michigan and Indiana. And then I wanted to take some time away and just kind of do my own thing, and figure out, is this where I wanted to be? Like I was going to be a music educator. Like I went to school at Eastern Michigan University in the fall of '98. And quickly realized that becoming a high school band director was actually not going to be the thing that I wanted to do. But I wanted to stay involved in some capacity, so I taught some programs here and there. Um, and then I just kind of stepped back a little bit. And after a number of years off, it's time to get re-engaged. And this is how I ended up where I am today. So um, I ended up getting uh, the opportunity to volunteer for the Madison Scouts first and foremost, who kind of, I guess you could say, got my feet wet or um, just dipped the toes in the pool, so to say, to test the water. And that was a pretty cool experience, which led me into Bands of America, which then led me into Winter Guard International, which then trickles into the MIPA in the Midwest, which is the Winter Guard circuit in the Dayton, Cincinnati, Southwest Ohio circuit. And now it's just kind of become a full-time thing. I am a full-time real estate agent in Chicago, and I have been since 2010. Um, and that being an independent contractor, freelance kind of uh, worker, being able to do work wherever you are in the country gives you the opportunity to travel or to jump in a car if somebody needs help, or jump on a plane and go, how about there? Or, oh,
I
do
know.
whatever. Motion centered light, right? Technology in the
Right.
21st century.
Yes.
Um, so it was just, I got on board with the Scouts, and I had ended up working with alumni relations. Um, how can we raise money? How can we throw events for alumni? How can we keep them engaged and interested in what the drum corps is doing on a year-round thing? And as you said, like this is a position that I had that was not paid. And that's a-okay. That's absolutely fine for me, and that's kind of, I'm giving back to the organization that had raised me since the time that I was 17 or 18 years old. And with Bands of America, volunteering a lot of time, working their fall regional championships all over the country. Um, I can go into detail about that if you want. Um, and just really being a person that can go where someone needs him to go, and someone that can do what someone needs him to do, and I take a lot of pride in that. I'm glad that people count on me for the work that I've done that way, or in those circumstances.
Right. So that initial like job flexibility with your real estate gig, and then the the desire to kind of get back involved or to contribute to some of those, like open that door up initially. When you started, volunteering and getting back in these organizations, did you ever anticipate it kind of turning into what it has, to where you have, serious leadership roles? Like, these are full-time positions and a lot of these organizations.
It's I absolutely thought it would be really cool to make this a full-time gig. Um, but you toss the coin up in the air and catch it and you place it in your hand. On the other side of the coin, I was just excited about doing this here and doing that there and helping those people and growing me in this direction, that I didn't never like think to really put myself into one box or into one office somewhere or to one location in the country. So that's been pretty exciting for me to just keep going and explore where can I go and who can I benefit and who needs the help, really.
Right. What's drawn you to some of these different things you've done? Because I think what is like pretty unique about your own employment and volunteering is it's been really diverse. And like, one summer it might be I'm running the cook truck, and the next summer it's alumni relations, and then it's like, oh, I organize all of MIPA. It's just,
Yeah.
it's just very different from thing to thing, like different skill sets, like different things being asked of you. What draws you to some of those different opportunities?
Um, just none of this is really, if we talk about intrinsic motivation, like I believe in doing a good job. I believe in making opportunities appear and go smoothly for other individuals when that needs to happen, and that is the driving factor behind what I'm doing. And yes, parking buses in a parking lot when it's freezing cold out in northern Kentucky is a completely different operation from cooking 850 meals a day when it's 101 degrees outside, in the Midwest or down in Atlanta. Everything is just so spur of the moment for me, I guess you could say, which is really kind of how, I don't want to say, oh, there's a squirrel. I mean, I'm not like putting out little fires. I just whatever is the hot topic for the minute, or whatever the role is kind of my thing. So I'm going to hijack this for 1 second, if I may, and say, this is it kind of goes along in your questioning here, I guess. Um, when I got my start with the Madison Scouts just by Dan Peterson saying, uh, our core jackets, our wool core jackets, are produced and embroidered at O'Hare in Chicago, and it's like the Midwest tour in 2013. And Dan Peterson asked, "Hey, I haven't talked to you forever. Is there a chance, any chance, that you could bring us core jackets in Dubuque, Iowa, from Chicago and pick them up? Because I live there." And I was like, "Sure. How many boxes? Where are you going, or where are you? And I'll come find you." It's like, there's going to be 5 boxes or whatever, and they're at a warehouse at O'Hare, and that, just being able to contribute like on the very first day and bring boxes, and then see um, this, they didn't receive their jackets, but see the students, like the work ethic and the final bit of rehearsal that I was able to catch, and then just sitting around goofing off, like eating dinner, getting ready for a show, was pretty cool. And that was like, I can do this. Like, I want to like stay involved. So I went home after Dubuque, Iowa, and it just kind of led to more discussion with Chris and with Chris Comic, the executive director, And with Dan, can I cook, or do you need a cook, or can I drive? I'll gladly drive. And so that just, was the foot in the door for me with Madison. The foot in the door with me at Bands of America was Chuck Henson, who's the announcer, or has been the announcer for Bands of America since 1921. Um, what he I sent him a message with a coworker of mine, in my real estate office. Said, "Hey, Chuck, it's Bands of America Indie Super Regional. I haven't been to a band show in forever. Can you help me out here?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'll have 2 guest passes for you available." So I went down for Indie Super in 2014, like just grabbed the keys of my car, grabbed a friend from the office, and said, "Let's go to a band show." And the next week was Grand National Championships, and or was it 2 weeks later, was Grand Nationals, and I was volunteering, for Grand Nationals, like running warm-up rooms, timing like 5 minutes, so you got to go to your show, 2 minutes, like you got to get out, just little things like that. And then like that was just like eating the porridge, like it was so delicious, and I just wanted to keep doing it. So then the following fall, like I'm cooking a little bit of food for the scouts. I'm driving vehicles for the scouts. I'm trying to maintain a real estate career, and now I'm going across the Midwest, like driving to St. Louis at 2 in the morning so that I can be at the show by 8 in the morning, so that I can volunteer all day, pay for my own hotel, and then drive home after finals the next night until 6 in the morning. Just trying to make this work, and I'm like, this is so awesome. I'm able to provide service. I'm able to provide support and a smiling face and a pat on the back for so many students, for so many individuals and teachers. This is where I'm supposed to be involved in the activity. And again, like you said, it doesn't matter if I'm doing this or if I'm doing that. I'm finding a way to stay involved or to get re-engaged at this time, and that's kind of been the stick and sauce on the side of the pan and on the pasta. And man, a million smiles later, here I am still rocking it. And we've got Grand Nationals this week, and I'm your greeter for Grand National Championship, standing at the top of the ramp. And welcome to Grand Nationals. It's my pleasure to welcome you into Lucas Oil Stadium. Have a good show. Um, so yay! I mean, once Bands of America was doing the thing, and then I don't know if it might have been Julie Noble contacted me from WGI, and for me it was like, why not? Or Heather Keynes, if you know, Heather Keynes' wife or husband, Justin Keynes, marched in Madison right before I did, and she works for WGI, and she was like, "Why don't you get involved in WGI?" So the next thing you know, I'm parking trucks and I'm schlepping people around parking lots, and I've just gone from doing this to doing that to working here to helping there, and it's just a huge benefit as you know, being a volunteer during that time.
Right. Yeah, I think, 2 things just listening to you that I want to highlight is, one of them I think is directly related to one of the topics that's coming up is, what got you started is you got asked. You got, invited back into it. Like, someone reached out to you and asked for a really specific thing, and that kind of opened up the gateway to everything else. And then number two, just highlighting, like, so you're driving all over the country and paying for your own hotels and volunteering. So you're not getting compensated. Like, it's not a position at this point. It's just you kind of, out of the kindness of your heart, out of your own, motivation to give back, is kind of doing these acts of service that take a lot of time, that take a lot of effort.
It took uh, it took I don't know, 2-3 years before I actually started making this a job. Um, Again, I was. Wait, is that you or is that me?
That's me.
If
Changing
that's a fire
classes.
alarm, oh, like if that's a fire alarm, you got to go, man. It took some time for me to get into the paid side, and even when I was doing things, receiving compensation for it, it's like I don't need this. I don't want this. Like you keep it. You put this back into the students. You put this as food in students' mouths or gas in the diesel tanks. Um, I'm here and I'm happy to help. This this thing that I have like just kind of let become the focus of my life was how I was scheduling appointments for real estate. It was determining how many leads I was going to take. It was determining how many transactions I wanted to do. It determines how many showings I wanted to take on and how many e-blasts I wanted to send to my clients. And it was I was using my vacation time to do these things when I was an employee um, at Coldwell Banker and Chicago Apartment Finders, and I just was like, every time you can squeeze in that book in a weekend, like that's a holiday. If I take that Friday and that Thursday before, then I've now got 5 days to go do the band, or I've got an entire week to volunteer for a world championships in Dayton. So I mean, getting into the working side was a cool transition. It was kind of like a reward for the time and the money and the love that I've given and spent to make that happen. But you know, I'm going to be taking on a new role, or I shouldn't say new role. I'll be working with a new organization in 2023. Um, this coming summer, which I'm super excited to keep a secret for a little while longer, but I'm super excited to do. But it's just one of the things is like, it doesn't matter what you're going to end up paying me. I'm going to end up giving back so much of that to your organization and the people that are there, because I want people to get out of this what I've been getting out for so long. And if there's anything I can do to help them smile, or to help them have ice cream, or to make sure that they've got caffeine to keep going and going and going when we've been away for 16 hours in one day, then that's my giving back and that's my help. There it is. Wave a little bit more, buddy. I'm still here. Uh,
Yep.
um, so that's gonna be the thing. Receiving payment, and that is just, yeah. I could keep doing this a little bit longer, or I could do 9 events instead of 8 now, or just being able to budget the money. Or I mean, I hate talk. It's super uncomfortable for me to talk about it. So I'm kind of not at a loss for words, and I'm not choking up about it, but I don't like talking about compensation for some of the things that I do, just because if you what is it? If you enjoy your work, you'll never work another day in your life. It's
Hmm.
kind of the vibe that I get off of that with me. Um, so yeah, you could turn a volunteer role easily into a paid position, and it's so cool that I get to do that, because that lets me do less of the things that I don't want to do, like sign contracts and, hey, where's your money and where's your security deposit and why haven't you paid your rent on time, and the paperwork and the credit reports. I don't have to do that as much as I had to, because now I'm making sure we have judges, and I'm making sure that we have vehicles, and that we have facilities, and we're working with those band boosters. And that community is so much more enriching and rewarding and engaging and positive, um, than real estate
Right. Well, I think that's a. Wait a second. Got a phone here.
transactions.
I think that's kind of a good transition into what really I think is the heart of what I want to talk to you about. So, I kind of said in my introduction, there's a whole variety of different organizations that really depend on volunteers, that depend on people, choosing to come serve.
Mhm.
That's true for, what is going on? Um, that's true for like music programs, band booster organizations, choir programs, athletic boosters, nonprofits of all sorts of varieties. Um, there are lots of organizations that are based on volunteers, and it seems like a lot of them are struggling to get the help they need.
Mhm.
And every time I'm a band director, every time I go to a band booster meeting, it seems like there is always like a voice in the corner that's like, well, back when this room used to be full and everybody used to help,
Mhm.
um, and so they normally end that sentence with, people just don't want to help anymore. Um,
Mhm. It's
I
a thing.
personally, yeah, and
It's a thing.
I personally don't know if I agree with that exact sentiment. I think the answer is probably complicated, like why
Yeah.
that has changed.
Mhm.
Um, but what have been your experiences with trying to find volunteers, trying to get people invested and to help out?
There's a couple of things, and um, I don't like bringing in politics, so I'm going to leave. Excuse me. I am running on Diet Coke and Coke Zero this morning, like it's my job, because it's long days and sleepless nights right now. Um, it, there, I, it's free. personal freedom that we've gained over the years with technology and maybe a little bit of divisiveness between Democrat and Republican and this and that, and losing those friendships and COVID. I'm going to leave that aside because it's not a big contributing factor. But it's our relationships and our interpersonal communications with our friends and our neighbors and the people in our circle could play a little part. However, the big focus is, for me, I think it is the freedom of I have other things going on in my life that can get in the way, or I am we. It is so cool, like that technology has let us get anything that we need done on our phone. And that's kind of an addicting trait to be able to use Instagram and Facebook and Snap and TikTok and be able to do those things while you're watching TV. But when those are occupying so much of your time, it affects your sleep cycle. Um, Cam States are just saying hi for a quick second. Um, that kind of thing has kind of allowed us to be able to sign up for new things or to I don't want to make this sound petty, but go shopping online or order food online. We don't need to necessarily stay engaged in our community as much, and we have other things that we can sign up for. We have kids that can now do, and this is not don't if you're a music educator, this is not what I'm getting at. We have kids that can do football and soccer and cross country and band, and they could be in chess club. They can do debate because we've gotten so good with scheduling things that we make all these things available. And when there's too many things to do, um, when your family size is, 3 kids instead of two now, or if it's five because you're merging households instead of 2 kids, you've got to get Jimmy to soccer, you've got to get Jill to Girl Scouts, or you've got to get Sam to practice the saxophone. You've got to have your own independent contractor life, or you've got to work your 9 to 5. And by the time you get to the weekend, when most of the volunteering opportunities are there, you're burnt out, or you're still, I just want to be a band parent. I just want to support my kid right now because I've missed that during COVID when we were all hanging out at our house all the time. And I think for me, what I see is there are so many things that people can do. Um, there are so many ways that people can give. And it's just, I don't want to say people being selfish with their time, but they absolutely are a little bit more demanding of what they need to not do too much. And another thing is kind of along that same line is kind of like donor fatigue. Um, if I am a band booster parent and I am doing a bottle drive and I'm picking up and driving my kid to rehearsal 4 times a week, and then I have to sell Yankee candles here, and then it's citrus fruit in the fall, and then it's candy in the winter, and we have to host an event at our gym, and then in the winter or in the fall we're gonna host an event at a football stadium, and we have to do the concession stand on the weekends or for the football games. These are things, these are things that I talk to, and I hear parents say there's just so much. And I have the same conversations with band directors, like, hey, we would love to help your band program make $2,000 by volunteering to help us run a show at the Nutter Center. Well, we're going to do it once, we can't do it twice because my parents are going to run out of patience when they're sending their kids to school at 6 in the morning and they're not picking them up until midnight that night, and they've got to go do this with that one with their kid, and they've got to do this with their friends, and they've been in the office or they work 2 jobs because that's how they make their income and they need that money to make their income. That makes things pretty difficult to get volunteers. With the younger generation, you've got to I think with the younger generations, you've got to ask them what's in it for me. They've got to have a reason to, and a lot of the times it's I need my 3 credit hours of National Honor Society. or I need to do this in order to get credit for this. So that's fine and dandy, but really for all people, but especially for young people, finding a way to get them to the why. Why are they doing this? That's the reason, or that's the downside, right? I think right now is that's trying to get them to say, "Oh, I get the benefits of doing this." Luckily for me, music has just been in my blood since I started playing piano when I was probably 4 or 5. My parents brought a baby grand piano for $100. Um, and it sat in our living room, and I never stopped playing. And I once that got into my system, that's my motivator, is to being able to do music education, keep doing that, and seeing smile on people's faces, and kids making music, and all the parents that get to experience that, and the fans and drum corps that get to experience that. But yeah, really getting into the what's in it for me. Why am I doing this? That's how we need to really get into somebody who's being distracted by you can come, work here, or you can do all these things with your family, and you can spend so much time doing this, that, and the other when there's so many cool opportunities to volunteer. And I don't want to say necessarily it's got to be a music thing, because I'm looking at other things that I want to do all the time. Like if I get tired of music, maybe I'm going to want to go walk dogs down the street at the Humane Society. I mean, they need some help too. I mean, I've been on the road all fall, so I couldn't become an election judge. They call them judges, right? Or election juror or election monitor,
Oh,
to
okay, yeah,
help
like
people
a
with their
poll
ballots,
worker.
like
Yeah.
a poll worker.
Yep.
Yeah. I can't do that, but if I had the opportunity, I'd want to do that, do my civic responsibility. It's really easy for me to find my why. I want to do it, and I wish we could help find other ways to help, you know, parents and adults and guardians and students and your neighbors to help, you know, want to be able to do why they would want to volunteer.
Right. Yeah, I think you bring up a lot of really good points, and I think for me, when every time I hear like the people just don't volunteer anymore line, there's this insinuation that it's like because people are like worse or they're lazy, and um, I just, in my experience, like don't think that is the case. It really seems like people just have a lot going on, like they're very busy, or the opportunities to volunteer aren't super clear to them.
Yeah.
Even though like we can talk about it and be like, oh, well, you can be a poll worker and you can do the Humane Society, and all those organizations really need help. I just think people don't always see those opportunities if they're not looking for them. Um,
Yes, and the same thing, it goes for like financial contributions. You will not make money. You will not get donations if you don't ask for it. You will not get volunteers if you don't ask for it, and or if you don't ask for them. And I think that is super important, um, is finding ways to get your word out and your branding out and your messaging out, because maybe you think that oh, we're short staffed, something's wrong, we need help, we're not doing as well as we should be. That's not the case at all, because it's like, yes, WGI and BOA, we post every fall, every spring, every winter. We're looking for volunteers, and I can't say we because I only look for volunteers from EVA, but I know that the folks here at the BOA office are constantly looking for ways to entice, I don't want to say entice, but to reward or enrich a volunteer's experience. Not just a t-shirt, not just here's a free ticket to watch band, excuse me. Um, but maybe we need to put you in a hotel. Maybe we're going to bring you on as event staff. Maybe we're going to pay for your flight so that you become a full-time staff person. Like this can grow into something. But if you don't ask for the help doesn't know that you need it. That's probably another aspect that we could spend an hour brainstorming on how can we get those things done. Um, but it's just we yeah, absolutely got to find ways to engage people to say, hey, we need your help with volunteers, and what can we do to get you in our door?
right, right, because I do think there we go again. Um, I do think there's a lot of people that would like to help or like do feel that impulse. They just don't always see the path of how to get there. And I think that's why, like you talking about Dan Peterson and in your introduction to Scouts, stood out to me as soon as you said it. That like this kind of whole, I think you're the type of person that you probably would have been volunteering somewhere anyway. But
Hmm.
the fact that he asked you to do something really specific, it kind of opened up the door to all these other things. And I think that's similar to my experience too. Every time we need volunteers for my band program or for Connexus or whatever it is, um, there are a lot of people that you're like, I need this to get from point A to point B, or I need hands from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. There will almost always be someone that like signs up for that job. It's when it's like, I need you to organize two events and it's going to be a 20-hour commitment, and you're signed up for life. I think that
Yeah.
is, I mean, it's a lot harder, but it seems like a lot of people are very willing to jump in when it's a really specific task. They know what's expected of them. And it's just like something they can fit more easily into their schedule because they are
Yeah.
busy.
And if there's a financial reward for doing so, or if there's a benefit for doing it, with MIPA, um, when you volunteer with MIPA, the time that you are spent is broken down into a block, a 3-hour block, and at the end of your shift, your ensemble or your organization that you work with, teach with, or have a kid in will get credit to help them save money on the registration. Like $25. Yeah, but if you have 8 parents that work 2 shifts, what is it? It's at $200 or $400. I'm really bad with math right now. You could essentially pay for your entire season membership just by volunteering for a morning. And like we'll have some groups that just send nobody. And it goes back to, hey, I can't ask my parents for one more. I can't ask them to do one more thing. Like I get it, that's cool, and we'll find a way to make it happen. But it's sometimes it's just so easy. Um, like you said, here's your detailed script, and this is the things that you're responsible for, and just show up, do your thing, and go on your way. It should be just that easy, but man, it could be like pulling teeth um, if you don't have the right approach, or if you don't have the right messaging, if you don't have the right marketing strategy, if you're not using the right platform. Because this is another tangent that I'll go off on is you're trying to communicate with parents, but we can't email them directly where they probably get they want to get their news. We're not friends with them on Facebook, and our social media channels are geared towards students, not the parents. And the students aren't going to tell their parents, hey, you know, um, look what I found on social media. They're gonna, oh, I'm gonna this is just my private little thing, and these are things that I don't want my parents or my guardians to know about. But trying to find that the way in is difficult. You can go right to you have a really sweet gig over at Connexus and say, hey, Michael Reese, you've got connections with all of your adults over there. You can be like, oh, but we've got, a show, we've got props, we've got to move all this, and I've already asked them to raise, $500. Like, so making sure that people can help each other out is kind of a focus thing that we could do a better job of.
Yeah, I think it definitely is like there's some cooperation that's needed. Everybody needs the circuit. The groups need help. The circuit needs help.
Yeah, yeah.
All these people need volunteers, and there's so many people involved. Like you go to a show and you fill up an auditorium, and it's like how do we make sure all these people like leave knowing that there's an opportunity for them to be involved. After that 12-minute show. Um,
You just said something. I wish I had a pen and paper. I am ready to write that down because I want to put that in our script for our contest this winter. If you are interested in volunteering and making money for your ensemble, visit mipa-circuit.org and we will find a place for you to volunteer at our championships in April. Man, like that's great discussion, Mike. I really appreciate this.
hey, I'm glad I could help. Glad I could help. But I really do think that I don't know. I have a lot of faith that there's a lot of good people out there that, want to be involved, want to help. They just, one, don't know that those things even exist. I bet there's a lot of parents that go to shows and like see people parking and don't know who those people are, don't know where they're from, don't know that they're from
Hmm.
another band, don't know that they're from the host band. It's just like, I guess these are the show people, the drumline people, um,
Yep.
you know, and just uh, well, I think that's true anywhere. Like you go to a drum corps show, and how many of those people really think like, oh, that drum corps that just had that amazing show, they really need me. They really need me to come work on the food truck for 3 days. Um,
Right.
we don't see the inner workings that often.
No, 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 no.
All right, so last question.
Yeah,
If you're someone that is looking for a place to volunteer or wants to get involved, um, where should they look? Where should they start? How can they kind of get into this activity or kind of just get into service in general?
Google is awesome. And this is the thing that we didn't have when I was your age. When I was marching, we have a simple, where can I volunteer to work with pets? Where can I volunteer to help with music education? Um, because your sponsored ads and your leading search results are going to produce something that's really cool. Um, if there's any organization that needs volunteers and they're a good organization, they're going to have that built into their website, so you can trigger that word and respond to that and go to their page. First and foremost is figure out what you like to do, what your drive is, what
Sure.
if you need to do jumping jacks, I'm all here for that. Find out what you want to do and who you want to benefit and what's your purpose going to be, and then go straight after that. A lot of people probably, and I'm sure that there's studies done on this, and I won't act like I have the answers or I have the results right, here in my hand. But there's got to be a study that shows, if you did dance when you were a kid, chances are you're going to want to go back into the dance community. If you loved having a pet, chances are you're going to want to volunteer at an animal shelter. If you believe in democracy and you're really super keen on liberal art, is it liberal arts or political science or whatever that field of study is, history, maybe that's where your calling is to start working in campaigning. Um, Homeless shelters, finding if you believe and if you have that compassionate side to you, and you're a good fundraiser, or and you want to provide for people, that could be your calling. And determining your calling, determining your passion, determining on who you want to benefit, um, is really where to start. And once you've got that there, it's just volunteer marching band, and then I would assume that Music for All would pop up, or US bands would pop up, or WGI would pop up. And then besides using Google, it's just about talking to your friends. I mean, getting on social media and just getting on Facebook and say, hey, I'm interested in give me something here. I'm interested in hot air balloons and making sure that they have like a facility to launch in North Dakota. There's got to be a group for that. There's got to be a collective page where people can go and meet other like-minded individuals. And that's the catch. And that's kind of like where I got my start is, obviously there's alumni pages and volunteer pages and student pages and groups that are based off, or that have that niche. Um, and once you're in there, you can see the questions that get asked. You can find out if that's what you want to do, and then you could pull the trigger and be like, boom, I'm going to go hang out with those guys, and I'm going to go do this for them, and I want to be able to benefit people, and that's the path that I was able to take, and that people can take in order to get there, and that's like super 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 cool. I know I kind of said not too long ago, like having all this technology was like preventing people from signing up or doing this, and there's other things to do. But if it's really important to you, those are the people that the nonprofits are really looking for. Those are the ones that'll turn into employees. Those are the ones that'll come back year after year after year. Those are the ones that'll take on more job responsibility. Those are the ones that will have your back when this forum or this group is not very positive thinking, or it doesn't have nice things to say. Those are the guys that are gonna go to bat for you. So find out what you want to do and make a plan and go find it and ask around. And when you're there, make yourself available, and the rest could be a great story to write for as long as you want it to.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think that's great advice. I think, like we said, everybody's looking for help. And if you're looking to get involved, all you have to do is ask. And I'm sure you're going to be welcome just about anywhere because I think everybody kind of needs the help. Well, thank you, John, for talking with me today and putting up with the light situation. and sharing some of your experience volunteering and working for nonprofits.
You are welcome, Michael. Good to see you, man.